point, Christina, there is a little delay in it, so I'll let you know when you actually are live.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for these virtual chats with me, Michelle McLean, a former Miss Universe. I'm so excited to be in partnership with livingbetter50.com. We are going to be chatting every week to professionals and experts about matters that are really important to us as women, that impact our lives and, of course, the lives of our families. So every week we'll be chatting about different topics, from health and wellness to fitness and, of course, home and decor and food. We'll be talking about money and business, travel and relationships. So it's going to be really, really exciting. And we also have a division that is called the Women's Expos and Events. And we unfortunately can't be traveling around the country right now because we're doing these virtual talks. We are really focusing on the social distancing. So in a few months' time, we'll be able to explore those with you in the various cities where all our viewers are, and share with you our partners that will be vendors that will be sharing their expertise on whether it's nutrition or whether they're doctors there with Botox or massage therapists, and of course home and decor, so there'll be food experts. So we're really excited to, in the next couple of months, roll those expos and events out to you. But right now, we're going to focus on these virtual chats, and I'm so excited to have with us today Chistina Earnshaw from Leg Up Health Solutions. She is 10 years experienced in the medical field. She has got a medical science master's, and she has got 2 children. She's a mother, and she is very, very passionate about educating preventative health and wellness. And so today we're going to be speaking about immunity and, of course, this dreaded coronavirus that is this huge threat to us and our families and our well-being. So, Chistina, welcome to the chat today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Chistina, I'm sure that you're inundated at the moment with requests from all sorts of people, because all of a sudden people go, oh my gracious. So I'm not just going to rush off to the doctor because I have a sore throat, because I've got to really respect the fact that the services, the medical services are overwrought right now. So everybody's got to kind of check themselves and see, where is my health at? And is this really necessary? And maybe there's a little seed that we can plant with many of the women today, and many of them have thought about this already, is why don't we start with preventative medicine and look after our bodies and our health? So maybe let's start talking about immunology and the immunity to a possible virus like the coronavirus that's a threat. How do we understand immunity or our immune systems? What does it mean?
Yes. So, personally, I have such a passion for prevention. I think it doesn't get enough attention in the media or in the healthcare industry as a whole. Unfortunately, with what's going on right now, a lot of people are taking a step back and looking at their health and how susceptible they are, and realizing that one of the scariest things that we can lose is our health. But the medical community has gone leaps and bounds in putting more light into prevention and how important nutrition is, and taking care of our bodies and taking care of our insides and our outsides as well. So your immunity is kind of how your body protects itself against foreign invaders. Those are toxins from the environment, any bacteria, any viruses that we come in contact with. And what happens is your body produces these antioxidants, and those are our fighters, or what put a shield up around your cells. Because we get hit with free radicals, and free radicals are caused by all of this damage. We're in a very toxic environment now. The soil's a lot different than it was 30 years ago. The air's a lot different. So it's very important that we're eating appropriately. We have very nutritious foods. Everyone kind of works on their stress, sleep. Nothing new. Everyone's heard that before, but now it just proves how important it is to take a step back and really look at those different elements of your life and what we can do to protect ourselves and our families as well.
Right, so that's so important, and brings me to the point where how would we build our immune systems in the sense that you've mentioned a few preventative things, but what can we do specifically in a threat environment like this? How can we up our game right now?
Absolutely. So as we age, it's a lot harder for our bodies to protect themselves against these foreign invaders. So, the baseline is nutrition, having a very healthy diet. Because what happens is when you don't, you can have a lot of inflammation, and that's what we refer to as oxidative stress. Oxidative stress in the medical community is what leads to heart disease, stroke, diabetes, all of these horrible diseases that we hear. And what we want to do is lower that inflammation threshold in the body. And you do that by eating very rich colored fruits and vegetables, green leafy vegetables, very important, getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, and really working on your stress levels. Now, if you aren't able to get all the nutrients that you need, micronutrients from your diet and the soil, you want to make sure you're taking a quality supplement to fill in those gaps so that your body is working at its optimal capacity.
Right, and your company actually has some very interesting technology that can help us with that, because I'm always looking for, I've throughout the years, I've had various different products and try different things, and I've endorsed different products throughout my life as a former Miss Universe. But I'm always confused because there's so much information out there. Now, how would you suggest we go about it as women? Because we're all very educated, informed, and we want to be more informed about our lives and make sure it impacts our lives and our families' lives as well for their health.
Of course, and what's wonderful now with the internet, with all of the resources that everyone has, we have all of this information at our fingertips, but it's so overwhelming because you don't know what the best product to use or even where to start. If you walk into a vitamin store, it's very overwhelming. And, physicians and specific doctors in functional medicine, they are getting more well-versed in nutrition and can help guide patients into what they need to specifically be looking at. But the company that I paired with has over 35 years of research and development. They're one of the top research and development companies in the world as far as pharmaceuticals go and nutraceuticals. Our founders were actually in the pharma world and saw the benefit of specific plants, because that's where a lot of the compounds in our commercial pharmaceutical drugs come from. And they started on the nutraceutical route they wanted to give people a quality supplement. We have a very stringent process, a very, very impressive lab, and we have a quality guarantee that no other company is able to provide. We can say it's 60 days money back, we see results, or that's how confident we are. On the technology side, it's very interesting. We have what's called a biophotonic scanner, and I will be very excited to present this at the expo. I was disappointed we couldn't do it in April, but I'm happy to show everyone in September. And it was actually developed by the National Institute of Health to measure your antioxidant level, that oxidative stress that I just referred to. And we can get a quick 30-second test. It's non-invasive. It doesn't hurt. You stick your hand on it, and it'll tell us kind of where you are in your immunity, and we can give you a nutritional plan and guideline to follow to get you to your immunity goals.
Yes, because what has really been very evident to me is that everybody's rushing out there trying to get blood tests to maybe not only make sure that they don't have the coronavirus, but that their immunity is healthy enough that they'll be able to get through this. So it would be great to have a product that's at your fingertips that doesn't cost too much and that is obviously non-invasive. So that's amazing that you can offer that. And where would you be able to offer that? Do you offer it at various selected doctors' offices, or can we buy this online, or how does it work?
Yeah, so the supplements we can ship directly to your home. They come from the manufacturer. As far as the scanner goes, I travel all around. I'm in South Florida, and I scan people at different events. I also work with physicians all over the country, so patients can get scanned there as well. Or we do have distributors in a few other states, so we can always get you hooked up with someone that has that ability to measure you. And we like to do measurements every 60 days to kind of keep your health in check, and then make different recommendations, based on what you're looking for, and kind of fill in those micronutrient gaps you may have in your diet.
That's wonderful to know. And I just want to reach out to the readers and to the viewers again and just say thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of this chat. And we'd love you to share your questions with us. You're welcome to send them through. And I'll be asking Chistina, to answer a few of your questions if you'd like me to. I'm certainly very, very interested to hear a little bit more. I've heard so often, and in my motivational talks, I talk a lot about the relationship between the hormones especially in everybody's body, especially women's bodies, your gut, and also in your brain. So when it comes to the nutrients, can you explain how and why it's important to get the right nutrients and the right combinations because of this very, very sensitive balance in our bodies?
Absolutely. So, going back to immunity and inflammation that everyone's familiar with. So your immune receptors are very, very heavy in your gut. So most autoimmune diseases, most diseases that people have in their life, we can relate back to gut health. What happens is the lining of your gut you can have separations in it. That's called leaky gut, which I'm sure people are familiar with, and that causes inflammation. There are specific micronutrients that if you are deficient in, it will, your body will tell you, and you'll have those issues. One of the biggest ones that's getting a lot of attention right now in the media is zinc. Zinc has shown to be an antiviral, so they are looking at that in conjunction with the coronavirus right now to see how patients that have that, what their zinc levels are, because we have seen the scientific data to prove that zinc can stop a virus from replicating. Something that Michelle and I have discussed is even if you have all of these micronutrients, if you feel that you have a very healthy diet, if you are not absorbing them properly, they're not helping you function at optimal levels. So you need what's called a transporter to get zinc, calcium, vitamin D, all of these very important micronutrients into your system. A few different transporters are ones that you can get from green tea. We also have quercetin. That's why it's very important to take an omega fatty acid as well, because these will transport these nutrients into your gut health, and then your body can use them as the fuel to keep your immunity at optimal levels.
Wow, so that is the critical part of keeping our immune systems really, really strong, is to have a healthy gut. And I know so many people in my life, and certainly my friends, that have issues, with their gut. And then, talking about the relationship between the guts and the hormones. Now, as you know, our virtual chats here are not just for women in their 50s or over 50. I'm loving the fact that there are younger women reaching out, wanting to know more information about immunity and the health, your own immune system and how to strengthen it. So I'm glad that our viewers are ranging on all ages with the women that have joined us today. But speaking specifically about the big change in a woman's life, whether it's perimenopause or menopause, does it make us more susceptible to having a lower immune system?
Absolutely, especially when you go through, those hormone changes for postmenopausal women. That decrease in estrogen causes an increase in inflammation in your body. And it's very important that you address that. And again, when you have very high inflammation levels, that's what leaves you susceptible to all of these environmental toxins that unfortunately we're hit with on a daily basis, specifically bacteria, viruses. So what we want to do is increase our antioxidant protection. As I mentioned in the beginning of our chat, those are almost like our soldiers that are going to help our cells from any of these damaging free radicals. And unfortunately, illness, postmenopause, all of these things that especially we as women go through, we want to make sure that we have optimal protection against those.
I think I've experienced living all over the world. I've been very fortunate but coming from Southern Africa, having lived in America before and Europe, how do you feel the American woman? I mean, this is a very global chat because it's an online magazine and we have audience and viewers all over the world. But how specifically does the American population differ from the rest of the world, do you think, in terms of dealing with their immune systems?
It's really interesting. We've, as a company, done over 30 million scans with the scanner that I mentioned earlier. And I've scanned women of all ages, races, backgrounds, and their scores are always very intriguing. I can usually tell if they have a pre-existing condition, if they're battling something based on their scores. And a lot of women that have Mediterranean diets, which are very high in those omegas that I was mentioning, they score phenomenally, and they're typically not taking a lot of pharmaceutical drugs, and their diet is very important to them, and eating healthy, and they're taught that from a young age. I think in America we have a lot of struggles with toxins and battle of the bulge that we're all fighting. Especially I'm a mom to 2 young kids, so getting that healthy diet in is very difficult, and it's been a personal struggle of mine as well. But putting my health as my top priority is something that I needed to do to make sure I'm healthy for my kids. But I think in America, that's something that we all struggle with.
So you were just talking there about the battle of the bulge across the board around the world. I mean, I realized when I went into my late 40s now, it's just like, well, I've been skinny my whole life, and boy, where did that come from? But it's all about a healthy immune system. What I learned, and I don't know if you can agree with me here and maybe expand on that a little bit, is it really, a healthy immune system does boost your metabolism, which helps you burn the fats and the carbohydrates in your body better. Is that confirmed?
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. Again, it all goes back to that inflammation. And when you're holding on to a lot of extra weight, your body is more inflamed. And, depending on, there's a lot of supplements in the market as well that can help your metabolism function better if you have no micronutrient deficiencies. And when your body's functioning at that optimal level, it's a lot easier to kind of get rid of that weight.
And you were talking earlier, I think you mentioned it very briefly, about probiotics. I've heard that word being thrown around a lot. I go into my cupboard, I take my probiotics, I think, okay, I've taken, how is that really going to help us? That's one of the big question marks I've had. It's always being pushed, like this is the way you can lose weight. So I don't know, can you expand on that?
Sure. What I mentioned earlier, when you look at gut health, and I love that gut health is getting so much more attention right now, 70% of your receptors for your immune system are located in your gut. So as I stated earlier, a lot of diseases start in the gut. So probiotics are getting a lot of good positive attention. So we have good bacteria and bad bacteria in our gut. And it's very important to have kind of a homeostasis level with those. They're good and bad, we need in order for our body to function. And probiotics do a great job of providing us with that good bacteria that sometimes we can't get from our diet.
I'm going back to menopause, and I still haven't received any questions from any of our audience yet, but we're looking forward to that because we love this to be an interactive process. So please feel free to email us your questions. And for those of you who know me personally, welcome to text me as well. I'm looking at all sorts of mediums here. This is one of the challenging things about now having to sort of reorganize our lives, is having to deal with the fact that certainly my business has moved much more virtual, and I've had to become a lot more technologically orientated. I don't know about the rest of you ladies out there, but with everything shifting so fast, and having said that, the stress levels that come with that as well, there's a whole shift, not only in the way that we're managing our lives, the fact that we can't go out and socialize as we've done before, or even see family members. I mean, I haven't seen my kids and my grandkids in the last 10, 15 days. It's crazy. So we've had to reorganize our lives and our minds. And certainly we'll be talking about the psychological and emotional aspects next week with a psychologist. So, that's an aspect that we really need to really be careful with and nurture, that we look after ourselves there. But when it comes to, managing technology, there can be a lot of stress involved in not only being isolated at home, but also the technology. So when stress comes into play, we know it lowers our immune system. How would you, what can you say, what can we do to manage the stress levels?
I think, everyone does it a little differently. I like to get up a little bit before my kids and have some peace in the morning. For me personally, we do a lot of walks, social distancing walks, but getting outside, getting in front of the sun for a couple minutes. Vitamin D is so important. There's so many wonderful health benefits for vitamin D, and 25% of the population is deficient in vitamin D. And again, that kind of affects that micronutrient balance that we've been talking about. But I think keeping what's important to you, all of our families, keeping everyone safe right now, and working on our own stress levels with, if it's yoga, if it's taking a walk, if it's meditating, if it's, getting on the phone with a family member, whatever you need to do, but taking that time out every day to really focus on yourself and your mental health and your physical well-being. And that's one of the most important parts of life that I think sometimes gets away from us.
I think it's so important, Chistina, because you spend your whole life working and educating on preventative medicine and wellness, for women. But what would you think are the top 5 real, the worst possible things you can do right now that will lower your immune system?
I think stress will probably be number 1. And I personally struggle with that. I've got 2 small children, and, like you said, a lot of us are moving to virtual. I'm usually out there speaking with my community and my physicians, and not being able to get that personal interaction is really tough. Stress would be the number 1, trying to keep that healthy diet. I personally went to the grocery store the other night, and it was very stressful for me, which usually I love my grocery store trips. But that's just kind of our new normal right now, but still trying to focus on fruits and vegetables, feeding my family healthy foods, knowing that what I'm doing is protecting them as much as I possibly can. Obviously limiting alcohol intake. Alcohol does cause inflammation. And so on the back end, that's going to give our bodies a little bit of a harder time to fight as well if we have that inflammation. I think everyone has their own struggles. People that have other diseases that they're currently fighting, autoimmune or anything else going on in their life that they're on prescriptions for, that's a daily struggle for them as well. So really focusing on, like you said, our mental health and decreasing our stress, spending time with our families, I think right now is a really great benefit that everyone is kind of forced to slow down and reevaluate our health and our wellness and, where our world is at right now, and prioritize what's important and kind of give us the opportunity to look at that in our life and see what do we want to change moving forward. With our immunity, we need to put that first and put a little more time into it. But this whole pandemic has really forced everyone to take a step back. And I think that, some positives will come out of it, but we're all learning a lot, and we all just have a new normal.
Well, that's, one aspect of that as well is just to manage and possibly, I'd like to suggest to all the women out there, and this is what I try and do as well for myself, is to just be kind to yourself. Just know that this is a whole different structure. This is not anything that anybody is prepared for. So none of us are really, geared up for what's happening with the coronavirus threat. And I really want to, express and put the message out there that it's time for us to be really gentle on ourselves. I think a lot of us women out there just want to get everything right and are perfectionists, and that can be stressful in itself. So do you find that a lot in your practice and your work, that that they say, the surveys say that women tend to be a lot harder on themselves than men actually are. So men are not as stressed out as women.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. And that's, personal experience, people close to me. Women are warriors, and we are used to putting a lot on our plate and wanting to get it all done ourselves, and asking for help is tough. And I do think that that's one of the most important things that we can discuss today, is being gentle on yourself. I mean, especially with children, grandchildren. I think mom guilt is a real thing. It's, I'm working from home, which is phenomenal, but my husband and I have to kind of juggle the kids because they're little and they need attention, and I want to be there 100% as mom, but I also am so passionate about what I do, and I want to give to my community, and it's a very hard balance. But I completely agree with you. I think that we all just need to give ourselves a break and be supportive and be kind to one another.
That's also sort of leaning on the side of sometimes, when you get stuck in a situation like this, and I've seen so many memes and all those messages that are circulating on social media, the funny little clips that you get. But there's one in particular, which is, I woke up this morning feeling, very, very resonating with it, is there's a picture of what a woman looks like, 30 to 60 days before isolation, hair beautifully done with the highlights done on the roots, and then 60 days later, which is where I'm getting to now. And I texted my hairdresser yesterday saying, when are you going back to work? And he's like, we don't know yet, So a lot of women are stressed out about that as well, because it feels like we can't, get out there and look after ourselves the way, that we used to. So I'm sure many women out there just can resonate with that feeling that I have as well. And that's stressful in itself. But, we were talking a little bit earlier about inflammation. And Tash sent us a message from England. Tash, welcome. And thank you for your question. It really, really is important because, we were talking earlier, Chistina, about inflammation. Can you just explain a little bit more about that? Because that also has to do with anti-aging. More inflammation in your body, and you can relate to the point of, it reduces the collagen in our body. So our worries and stresses can go even further than that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, inflammation accelerates the aging process exponentially. And that's why I said, everyone's familiar with the word inflammation, but it's very hard to understand or pinpoint, like, what exactly are we talking about? And again, kind of what I found, with all the physicians that I work with is, again, inflammation starts at the gut. So we want to address that first and anything else that's going on, and slow that down as quickly as we can and kind of decrease that inflammation in the body. But yeah, my company that I represent, we have one of the, if not the leading supplement in the anti-aging industry. I absolutely love anti-aging. I work with a lot of aesthetics clinics. It's so interesting. And the technological advances are just so crazy. But the supplement, actually, they found the gene cluster that causes aging and gene expression. It's called epigenetics. And they were able to reverse that. So epigenetics means the way that your genes are expressed. And they're able to take the way that your genes are expressed now at 40, 50, 60 and turn that back to 20. And it's really interesting. I tell every patient, every client that starts the product, take a before picture, because at 30, 60, 90 days, the first thing they notice is their skin. It's going to increase that collagen production. That's one of the first things that you start to lose after actually age 25. I'm personally 35, 2 young kids, so stress has done a number on me. But I went on the product, and that was the first thing I noticed as well. My skin just looked better. It has all of these amazing health benefits as well. But going back to what you said, absolutely. I mean, inflammation just wreaks havoc on every cell in your body, and can really push that aging process forward a lot quicker than most of us women are happy with.
Well, that's good to hear there's something out there that we can trust and rely on, because I'm certainly going to explore that a little bit more. And we were just talking about the collagen and all the products out there. Now, do these collagen products really work? I've got the creams, I've got the tablets. Do they really work?
I think it's important to look at where the products come from. You always want to know, are companies manufacturing their own products? You want to look at their safety profiles. Where do the ingredients come from? Right now, I'm a big advocate for chemical free. So you want to look at products that don't have all these parabens and these things that now we know do cause issues later on down the road. Any product that, does produce collagen is going to be helpful. But again, I think most important is reading your labels, buying a product from a manufacturer that you trust, that's been in business for a long time. Having testimonials from other people in your community that you trust is also very important, because again, you walk into these stores and there's 8,000 products. It's very hard to decide what's the best one for me. and everyone's at different ages and stages in their life as well. So I think a big take home too is beauty is not a one size fits all. It is very, very personalized, and it's important to work with a company that realizes that and that looks at your needs specifically.
So what would vegetarians do? A lot of the collagen products actually have made of, what is it exactly, beef or hooves or something like that. Are there any collagen products out there that are for vegetarians?
Absolutely. There's a lot of vegan companies out there. There are, personally, the company that I work for, we don't have any of those parabens or harsh chemicals in there. We've got 75 PhDs on staff full time who formulate these products. Our safety profiles are of utmost importance. And again, just finding a product and a line and company and manufacturer that follows in your values and your needs is very important. Luckily, in this day and age, what's available to us right now is a lot different than it was 10 years ago. And, you want to be very cognizant of what you're putting in your body and what you're putting on your body.
And talking about vegetarianism, there's a lot of people out there that have now looked at where these viruses come from. And in your sort of expertise and your background, do they really derive from a lot of the wet markets, the meat markets around the world?
I'm not a medical physician. I think we need to be really careful on those claims that we make. I personally have not been in that immunology, epidemiology field where I'm in the field seeing where they come from. I watch the movies just like everybody else and read all the news reports, and it does, seem that in the past there are viruses that jump from animal lines to humans, and that's what is causing all the trouble for us. But I think that what's really important is for us to understand that we do have the ability to protect our bodies, starting at the nutritional level. And it's not just the viruses that, we're going to come in contact every day. It's those bacteria, those toxins, our air, pollution, things in the soil, everything of that nature. And it's so important for us to look at our health as a whole and how we can protect ourselves.
Well, thank you for that. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, because I know that is, something that, it's still being discovered and something that's still being explored, where this virus is actually stemming from. They've been speaking recently about, we possibly have a vaccine for the coronavirus thread, or the coronaviruses. Now, I've always looked into the vaccines throughout my life, because I have children as well. And there's always this sort of conversation people have around it. Some agree with having vaccines and some don't. Do you have any opinion on that?
I have a degree in basic medical sciences, so that's where my entire educational background came from. And I was taught all about vaccines and the pros and the cons. And, I think it's very important for us as Americans, as anyone in the world, to do your due diligence and do your homework and, really try to educate yourself as much as possible on either end of the spectrum and make the decision that's going to be best for yourself, your health, and your family. And, with the technology right now, we have the ability to get that scientific documentation and really educate ourselves on what's going to be the best, move for me and my family, and for vaccines, not for vaccines, but what your choice is, and, with what we have available to us today.
So, yeah, and I absolutely agree with that everyone needs to. We've got so much information out there and access to information. So, that makes for us to be more educated about it and make a choice. And, as we go in the next few months, we'll hear more information about, because people are asking the question, if I've got the coronavirus, some people have it and then don't have very bad symptoms, or it hasn't really hit their body very seriously. And then you see videos of some people around the world and they're gasping for air. They feel like their lungs have exploded. So why would it affect one person a certain way and another person in another way?
Yeah, so like we discussed earlier, if you have a compromised immune system, you are more at risk to these bacteria, viruses, free radicals that we come in contact with every day. And it's a matter of how well your body can handle that when it comes in contact with it. And unfortunately, a lot of people that do have autoimmune diseases, have respiratory issues, have other things going on, they are more susceptible to it and they have a harder time fighting it off. And that's why it's so important that we do the social distancing. In the younger population, they may not show symptoms, they may not be hit as hard with it, but they are carriers, and it can affect the older, more immunocompromised population so heavily that it's so important that we all do our part right now to try to, as I'm sure everyone's seen, but flatten the curve.
Yeah, that's a really, really important point. And then also to, think about it right now. What else are we doing, that is impacting our immunity? What should we change about our day-to-day activities that we might not have done before the coronavirus threat?
I think number one, it starts with diet. You really need to pay attention to what you're putting into your body, and your body needs specific micronutrients to function properly. I preach that all day, every day. And if you aren't able to get it from your diet, you need to take a quality supplement. That's something that, I encourage you to speak with your physicians about. I'm happy to always give as much information as I can to everyone, because when your body is working at that optimal level, you have every nutrient you need. You're giving yourself the best protection. And I think what people don't understand is that if you're off even the smallest bit, it throws the entire system off. So it's so important for us right now to look at getting all those nutrients in our body, trying to do, social distancing to stay away from anyone that may have it that could cause you to be a carrier and give it to someone else, decreasing your stress, trying to get enough sleep, drink enough water, spend time with people that you love, that, make you feel good about yourself, giving ourselves a break with everything that's going on, and, just trying to decrease that inflammation every way that we can.
And so when we go into the shops, and obviously I've taken real stock of my life, and I've looked at it and I've said, okay, so what can I change that can really improve, the way that I'm tackling this time of life and the threat that's around us. So I'm thinking, okay, I live in an apartment block. I don't have a garden, but if I had a garden, I'd be growing my own vegetables. Then I'd know what nutrients are in there. This is a very interesting question from the West Coast of America. So thank you to the lady. She didn't, or to the gentleman. They didn't give their name, but that is the question. Should we be growing our own vegetable gardens?
I absolutely agree with that. My husband grows kale, tomatoes, and peppers for us. And we have fresh kale, which, by the way, if you do grow your own produce, it is shocking how long it lasts in the fridge. I mean, it's good for months. It blew my mind, because when you start to look at your research, apples are only harvested once a year, which was shocking to me. So they sit in these refrigerators until they go to the produce store. And that's why, I've bought produce from my local grocery store, and in 2 to 3 days it goes bad, and it's very frustrating. But when we started growing our own produce, it lasted weeks in our fridge. I was almost in disbelief about it, but it still was just as crispy, just as fresh. We put kale in smoothies every day. I put it in tacos. We use it wherever we can. We almost have too much, so we always share it with our friends and family. But it's a very nice hobby that he started. We've got the kids involved in it, and I feel really good knowing that even that little bit we're doing is kind of helping our family, and I know where it comes from. But it's hard. Not everyone can do that, like you said, and it is a lot of work. You have to be committed.
I did some research on it, and I know that even in an apartment building, you can have a hydroponic tank where you can actually grow vegetables within a tank. So, there are no excuses. You can make an effort, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I've got an interesting question here from North Carolina, from Claire, and she's asking about the probiotics. So is there a difference between probiotics on the shelf and probiotics that you have in the refrigerator?
So really, you need to look at the source and what type of bacteria strain that you're using. Because again, there's good and bad bacteria. So I can't speak for every company, every manufacturer. But you want to look at the label. There have been a lot of recalls on Amazon. If you go into Google, and you'll see that they've pulled a lot of supplements for false information or for heavy metals in them, which is very upsetting, because again, it's hard for us to understand what's good and what's bad. And in the US, in our country, the supplement industry is just not regulated as heavily as, let's say, the pharmaceutical industry. So again, it's so important to find a company that's been in business for quite some time, that manufactures their own product, that has a good track record. And again, if you speak to any of your physicians, typically they go with companies that do that. They'll do their due diligence to make sure that they're getting you the best quality product. Or like myself, I represent a company that's been in business for 35 plus years. We've scanned over 30 million people, and we have the results and the scientific data to back up our supplements, because we want to make sure that everything's putting the best quality supplements into their body.
That's really good to know. Once again, it's always very confusing. There's just so many products out there. So all the information you've given us is just really, vital and important, and it's been very enlightening. And, there was another question, in fact, a question here from North Carolina, once again, from Claire, which is something I've been wondering about, and I don't know if anybody else has been wondering this, but why are children, why do they tend to not have the symptoms of coronavirus, whereas the older people are affected? I mean, not all children's immune systems are strong, surely.
Right. It's really interesting. And I think that it may have something to do with, again, when you think about our cells and our immunity, as children, we have all of these regenerative factors in our cells. Because if a child gets hurt, if they cut their finger, if they get, a bump, bruise, whatnot, they heal very quickly. And you'll notice as you age, it's longer for that bruise to go away. It's longer for that cut to stop bleeding. And it's because we don't have as many regenerative factors in our body to help heal us. And it's because you lose it as you age. Your cells have been hit by these toxins and free radicals so many times that they start to die off. And you just don't have as many soldiers or as much immunity to protect yourself against all of these toxins and things that we come in contact with. So personally, I think that may be a big reason why. But again, I think it also may be because adults and parents especially, as soon as I heard this hit, I have a 4-year-old, and he was in preschool, and we took him out because I think it's so important for us to protect them. So I think we've also protected them from this virus, because most parents typically put their children's health and priorities above their own. And we really haven't given the virus the chance to kind of populate in these younger generations. And that's the goal, is we really want to protect them.
Yeah, I remember in days gone by, and I certainly remember that from my grandmother's time, where they would say, oh, we just used to put all the sick children together, those kids with measles, those kids with chicken pox, and let everybody, childhood disease, let's everybody get sick together. Are we going to do this with the coronavirus, do you think?
I mean, I hope not. I wouldn't elect for my children to go in that pod. They are little germ balls, but too, I make it a priority to feed my children as healthy as I can. We have a supplement that's for children. It's actually called Jungle Moles. It's a little chewable. It's made with beet juice, so no chemical additives. And that makes me feel like I'm doing, as a parent, what I can to protect him and give him the best shot at this. But, they're exposed to so many different strains of bacteria and viruses in daycare and preschool and just the outside world, because they have such immature immune systems that they do build up those antibodies. But again, I think that why this is such a big impact on our world is because we've never seen this strain of virus before. So the whole medical community is just trying to figure out where it came from, what can we do to stop it, and then how can we prevent it in the future. And it happens so quickly. It takes science and medicine a little while to catch up, and that's what we need to be patient with.
Yeah, talking about children at school, and I'm sure you hear wonderful little stories that come back from the kids from school, and comments made like, so the other day there was this comment on social media where this child was asked, so why do you think you're not going back to school? And the child says, because we ran out of toilet paper. Oh, that's so sweet. But that's another thing. I've been looking at society and this mad rush to the shops and this craziness and chaos and everyone going to clean out the toilet roll racks. But this virus is going to be attacking your chest and your respiratory system. So that's interesting that people they hear virus and they just I suppose, go into knee-jerk reaction. Do you find that a lot in the medical industry?
It's hard to compare because in my lifetime, I'm 35, I'll be 36 in May. In my career, I haven't really seen anything like this happen before, so I don't have anything to compare. I do think that the media can get the best of us. Social media is a wonderful thing, but it can also, really hinder us in that false information or scare tactics can be so in your face because of how much social media we have around us that it can cause that widespread panic. And, like you said, I think it is a knee-jerk reaction. It's worst case scenario. What do I need to do? Stockpile toilet paper for the next 30 years. I still don't understand why. I honestly didn't buy any. I go to my Costco once a month and I had enough. I hope I have enough. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think that it's just, this is scary. This is new. This is something we haven't seen before. And, we don't feel prepared. And I think maybe buying toilet paper is what made some people feel better. And that's kind of how they're handling it.
And, talking about the panic and the whole sort of thought process going forward. And this is a question actually from somebody from New York asking, you mentioned it earlier, but maybe let's just, go into that again and sort of visit that, is how can we test our immunity right now? How can we test whether, we are healthy enough right now?
So, it's tough. And my heart goes out to New York. I know that the people in New York are really having a hard time. You and I, Michelle, we're in Florida and we're not far behind, but I know they're really struggling. It's hard to have a definitive test. My company, we have, like I mentioned, that biophotonic scanner. It's the only one like it. It was actually developed by the National Institute of Health because they saw that diet and lifestyle are the #1 preventable diseases, and it measures your antioxidant level. So I try to get as many people's hands on that scanner as I can, and that's my goal, to bring awareness to them. And when I work with my physicians, I always tell them, why would you take a blood pressure pill if you couldn't get your blood pressure measurement? That wouldn't make any sense. You get your blood pressure measurement, it's high or low, and then we address it from there. So why are you taking a supplement with no way to measure if it's even working or where you're at in your immune levels? So with that scanner, that's something that I can provide to patients, to my community, to clinicians. So I'm trying to get it in, to my community as quickly and as efficiently as I can, because we do have the science to prove that it works. I'm very passionate, especially to work with women. That's why I was so happy to talk to you about this, because there was a study done by Harvard that proved that high oxidative stress, which measures your antioxidant levels, is an indicator of breast cancer. And we're seeing breast cancer so much more frequently and in women that are a lot younger. And so for that reason, every single woman should be tested and should get their oxidative stress levels tested.
So this is interesting. It feeds this question actually right here from Boca Raton. Should I have a lower or higher antioxidant level?
So yes, it gets a little confusing. So oxidative stress we want as low as possible. That's up there with inflammation. Antioxidants we want as high as possible. Antioxidants your body does make naturally, but it's very low. And the best place to find them are fruits and vegetables, dark green leafy vegetables, very, very colorful fruits. And again, another issue that we were discussing is the soil is very different now than it was 20, 30 years ago. It just doesn't have as many nutrients in it. And that's why we're finding even vegans, vegetarians, people that have very, very healthy diets, are very active, they still have these gaps in their nutrition. And that's why it's so important to take a quality supplement to, meet all of your nutritional requirements.
Well, Chistina, it's been very, very informative. And there was another question here as well. We did touch on it earlier, but maybe just if you could just confirm that again. Why is it that older women, women, golden women in our golden years, that we tend to have more ailments and be sicker than our younger counterparts?
Again, it goes back to, as you age, you're exposed to more and your cells are fighting more. And especially when that hormone balance or imbalance comes to play after postmenopausal, it increases that inflammation in your body, and it makes it a lot harder for you to kind of recover. And most people, I think, would agree that in your 20s, you can do a lot more and you feel great the next morning. And then it takes a couple days as you age, and it's because you may have those imbalances in your hormones or your nutrients, or higher inflammation levels. And that's why we really want to have people understand that it's multifaceted. It's not just one reason or one thing. It's that we're exposed to so many things as we age, and what we want to do is really pay attention to our health and address all those different issues so that everyone can lead healthier, longer lives.
That's wonderful. And I think just, everything that we've explored today just confirms for me how important it is that we take stock of our lives. We look after ourselves firstly as the women, the nurturers in our homes, because everything tends to fall on us eventually. We make all the decisions about the food, where we live, the cars we drive. So hence this wonderful medium to be able to talk and share on this virtual chat. And I look forward to seeing all of the audience back again next week and for the weeks to follow as we explore different topics, and especially around the coronavirus threat right now. Next week, we'll be talking about, the isolation, the emotional and psychological aspects of the isolation. And for us as women, as nurturers, we provide a lot of the support in our homes. So, but Chistina, thank you for exploring, the fact that immunology and our immune systems are so very important, so very vital, because if we don't look after ourselves, we are unable to look after our families and our loved ones. So it's really vital. And I've come away with sort of 5 nuggets today. And I don't know if, you share my opinion, everybody out there, but firstly, number 1, look after your physical body. And you agree with that, obviously, Chistina, you've mentioned that a few times. Nutrition. And that is something we can control. That is something we can change. We can work on having a better diet and looking after our nutrition. The other nugget was changing your lifestyle. Things have changed. Nothing will be the same again, whether it's socializing, the way that we socialize, how hard we party. We've got to drink less, possibly. It's just a suggestion. And look after our lifestyles is very important. Then obviously limiting our groups. So there's just so much around us that we're going to need to readjust to and reframe, but also many positives coming out of it. And then, the lack of sleep. That's been a big issue for me, not only because I'm going through menopause, but I think the worries that we have about how will this coronavirus affect our lives. It's affected us financially. It's affected us, emotionally already. So, and by keeping, I guess, what you were saying earlier, a healthy, strong body, we are able to maintain a healthy, strong mind. So we need to start there. And those were really the nuggets that I got out of this. And maybe just to take the joy and see the opportunity in spending the time that we have with our loved ones. So Chistina, what would your major sort of nugget be out of this experience with the coronavirus threat and being isolated at home?
I think it's, everything you touched on. And for me, it even in the wellness industry that I've been in for so long, it forced me, and I think everyone else, to kind of take a step back. And I'm very thankful for the education, the opportunities that I've been given, and that I've practiced these healthy lifestyle techniques for years. So I feel that even with everything going on, I'm confident that I've protected myself and my family as much as I could to my ability. But it did still even, take a step back and realize I'm thankful for what I have, regardless of what happens, and that certain things are more important than others that I, stress over. I'm sure everyone else does too. And just taking care of ourselves and giving ourselves a break. I really resonated with you saying that, just being kind to ourselves, because as mothers and women, we do take on, I think, big roles, and that's just in our nature. And I don't think that will change, but I completely agree with everything that you were saying.
Well, Chistina Earnshaw from Leg Up Health Solutions, we're so grateful for being able to have your share today. I'm sure all the women out there are just feeling a lot better about, okay, so more positive about the way forward. There are some things that we can do, that we can control in the situation, even though it feels so, fearful that we can't control a lot of it. For me, what came out of today and being able to explore this with you wonderful women and a sisterhood of support is that having gratitude for the country that we live in. We have resources, we have healthcare. We can be so grateful for that, and a community that cares about everybody. So I leave you with that thought, everybody, and I thank you so much for joining us today, and look forward to you joining us again in the future as we speak to experts and professionals on many different topics that impact our lives as women in the 21st century. And one day we'll get to do our expos, women's events and expos around the country, so stay tuned for that. And for anybody who would like to know more about Chistina Earnshaw's products, please do contact our website or her directly. We can give her details to you through the website, and look forward to seeing you all again soon. And from me, Michelle McLean, look forward to seeing you next week. Celebrate life, everybody. It is absolutely beautiful. So I'm not sure. I think we're still live streaming. This is our first one. So I wish I had interaction with everybody out there, but I've got interaction with you, Chistina, so I don't feel too lonely. So what are you doing this evening?
I'm sorry?
What is it you're going to be doing this evening?
Oh, well, I need to go get dinner ready for my children that I can hear causing trouble downstairs. And, just our normal routine: dinner, get them ready for bed, get them in bed, have my Zen moment before we do it all again tomorrow. What about you?
Well, absolutely. I'm definitely going to go and have some of the Thai curry I made earlier today, and watch another good movie.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I watched Contagion last night. I don't know if that was the best.
Oh, no. I think, Paul, are we off? We offline now?
We're off. Everybody else is off. Yep.
Yay, good.
Oh.
Well,
Yay, that was so good.
That was amazing.
It was brilliant. We had